Alright Brollies, finally, it looks like we now have a decent contender for the best low-profile mechanical keyboard and can probably make the Newfie Air series a run for its money. I'm talking about the new LoFree Flow. Can it though? Well, we're going to find out in this video. The LoFree Flow is a low-profile mechanical keyboard that features an all-aluminum chassis, hot-swappable sockets with the world's first full-POM low-profile switches from Kale, and LoFree also claims that it is the first low-profile keyboard that features a gasket mount design, which is absolutely impressive given its 10mm body. It is also one of the smoothest and best-sounding low-profile keyboards out of the box that I've tried in a while. It also features dual-mode connectivity and subtle ambient lighting, all in a minimal and sleek-looking design and construction. It is not perfect though, so let's see what it's all about. Let's get into it. The packaging is really nice with a silver outer sleeve and a flip-out box. Inside the box, we have a thin foam cover, the LoFree Flow keyboard itself, some paperwork that includes this, a QC pass verification, and the user manual. And lastly, we have the non-braided cable for charging and wired mode. Unfortunately, we don't have an included switch and keycap puller here. At first look and touch, what strikes me the most is the clean-looking, minimal and sleek design of this keyboard. It is made mostly out of aluminum and is built decently. It flexes a bit when given an unusual amount of force, but with normal use, the build quality is substantial enough. It weighs around 566 grams, which is hefty enough to make it not feel cheap, but also light enough for portability. In terms of the layout, it features a compact 75% layout with no partition between the key clusters like the nav cluster keys, arrow keys, and the function rows. While it makes the keyboard extremely compact, it also makes it harder to transition to if you're coming from a regular layout. Just something to keep in mind, but everything can be learned, so not a deal breaker at all. I just need to point that out. Now in terms of the fonts, for the most part, I like it. The size of the legends is well balanced with a good accent color for the shortcuts up top. However, I'm not particularly fond of the sort of combo legends for the Windows and Mac OS. It would have been cleaner if they just included separate keycaps for these. Other than that, a very clean looking keycap set. Now what I like about the design of this keyboard is the aluminum casing with flat sides and curved corners. Looking at the front side, we have an LED indicator at the center for charging status and battery life. There are visible screws around the keyboard, but they are so tiny that it's not so obtrusive in my opinion. The top casing of the keyboard is only around 10mm, but since the bottom case protrudes a bit, the total thickness on the thinner side is around 11mm, which is still impressive considering they were able to make this a gasket mount keyboard. Now with the keycaps and rubber fit, it's around 18.3mm in front, and with the stand at the back side, around 25.3mm. It is not as short as the Newfie Air 75, especially with the stand at the back, but at this level of thinness, we're at the point of diminishing returns already, so yeah, it's not that significant. And if you compare it with other keyboards, the difference is definitely dramatic. Now looking at the back side, we have the USB Type-C port and the mode switch, nicely tucked just below the top casing, making it essentially invisible from normal viewing angles. At the bottom, we have 4 rubber feet and 2 stands in a nice rose gold colorway that matches the color of the LoFree badge on the right side. Oh yeah, I almost forgot about that. We have this nice accent badge right here that adds to the overall character of this keyboard. Now going back here at the bottom, we also have this raised platform that houses the battery and the daughter board. More on that later in the Teardown Experience. In terms of the keycaps, it is made out of PBT plastic with permanent dye sublimated characters. So the quality here is on point with a thickness of around 1.1mm. The switches are probably one of its main strong points and one of the reasons why this keyboard sounds and feels really good out of the box. What we have here is Kale's full POM low profile switch, which is currently the smoothest low profile switch that I've ever tried. POM material is one of the smoothest plastic ever made, especially when lubed. And upon close inspection, it has some faint oil-based lube on the housing, leaf, and on the stem itself, which is nice. Now this one in particular is the Kale Ghost, which is linear, but this keyboard is also available with Kale Phantom, which is tactile, and Kale Wizard, which is clicky. And since this keyboard also features hot swappable sockets, you can also use other low profile switches here. Although if you use Kale chalk switches, you won't be able to use the stock keycaps. Now the stabilizers are plate mount stabs for low profile keyboards, also pre-lubed, and are also pretty good out of the box. The shorter modifiers are almost perfect, but the spacebar could have been better in my opinion. Now keycaps, switches, and stabilizers are just a fraction of the reasons why a keyboard sounds and feels good or bad. So let's take a look inside. In my honest opinion though, tearing this keyboard apart is completely unnecessary since this keyboard is already good out of the box. But if you're curious like me, which is actually part of my job, opening this keyboard is pretty easy but a bit tricky. You'll need precision tools to remove all the screws around, and you'll have to be very careful since these screws are tiny. After that, you can now easily lift the top cover along with the LoFree badge like so. Next, carefully lift the PCB and plate combo so as to not damage the ribbon cable underneath it. Gently remove the ribbon cable that connects the daughter board to the PCB, and you now have access to the bottom case wherein you will see the bottom case foam made out of dense pore material. We also have here the 2000 mAh of battery and the daughter board for the battery, switch, and port. And we also have some protection here on the aluminum bottom housing. Like I said, this keyboard features a gasket mount design, and we have a total of 8 gaskets made out of silicone material. These gaskets isolate the plate from the casing, reduce the unwanted pinging sounds, and help with the overall sound of the keyboard while also providing some sort of cushion for the typing experience. Looking at the back of the PCB, the hot swap sockets are made by Kailh, which is known to be reliable compared to other brands. Now, aside from the bottom case pore foam and gaskets around the plate, we also have IPX-E foam and silicone dampener in between the PCB and plate, which by the way, I believe is aluminum. This allows the keyboard to sound poppy altogether. So basically, LoFree was able to manage to add pretty much all the standard modern sound dampeners a regular keyboard has inside this 10mm chassis. And to get a better understanding of what these components do to the keyboard, here's a sound test for you guys. Now, in terms of other functionalities, when it comes to connectivity, we only have wired and Bluetooth. No 2.4 GHz option here, which depending on your use case scenario, might be a deal breaker or not. If you're into gaming, you are limited to the wired mode for better input latency. But if not, wireless over Bluetooth is decent enough for most productivity tasks. You can connect up to 3 devices here with FN+1, 2, or 3. In terms of illumination, as far as I can tell, we only have single color here, and you can adjust the brightness by pressing FN plus F5 or F6. Here's how it looks in a completely dim environment. The keycaps are not shine through, so we only have edge lighting. We also don't have any lighting effects here except for the ambient lighting at the bottom. Speaking of that, you can toggle it on and off by pressing FN plus left arrow key and change the color by pressing FN plus right arrow key. In my honest opinion though, this is almost useless, since the brightness is not enough to make it properly visible. Aside from that, in terms of lights, again we have the LED indicator for power here at the front center, and we also have a small LED for the caps lock that doubles as an LED indicator for pairing. You can also switch between Mac OS and Windows by pressing FN plus N or FN plus M. In terms of performance, I didn't encounter any significant problems when it comes to its wireless stability, and NKRO works well on both wired and wireless modes, which means you can press as many keys as you want at the same time without conflict. Unfortunately, as of this time of making the review, I cannot find any software for it. Overall, to conclude, although it lacks some of the features that its competitors have, like 2.4 GHz connectivity, more lighting effects, and software, it sets itself apart by being one of the best sounding and feeling low-profile keyboards at its out-of-the-box configuration. The fact that they were able to include all the necessary sound dampening materials inside the super thin body is absolutely amazing, and a step forward that can revolutionize the development of other low-profile keyboards in the future. And there you have it guys, thank you for watching. Huge thanks to LoFree for sending an early sample so that I can share with you my thoughts. Full disclaimer, while they did provide the keyboard, they did not pay me to do this video, and I'm allowed to say whatever I want. If you're interested in this keyboard, I'll put some links below. Also, let me know if you want me to compare this to the Nufi Air 75. If there are enough requests in the comments, we can make it happen. Thank you for watching, subscribe if you appreciate this video, and see you next time. Have a great day guys, you're awesome.